So this story came up yesterday about tattoos. Never really thought about this much, but obviously lots of people get them. More and more people seem to be getting them. But there is something to do here, at least in Canada, with the fact there may be some health issues tied to this. Matt Grillo from CTV was on this story. Here's part of that report.
Tattoos can increase the risk of certain cancers. That's according to a recent study that finds tattoos might actually carry a health risk, an increase in the risk of certain cancers. Danish and Finnish researchers found that people with tattoos larger than the size of their palm were twice as likely to develop skin cancer and lymphoma. The editor-in-chief of Quebec Science magazine says tattoo inks are not as strictly regulated in Canada, and as a result, some ingredients in the ink might be harmful.
What? I didn't know any of this. And I bet people getting tattoos didn't either. We're just finding this out now, so I thought we should try to find out more. Dr. Lisa Iannattone is an assistant professor of dermatology at the U of M's Faculty of Medicine, and she is on the line. Doctor, let me pick up on what we just heard there. How much of this did we know before?
So we've known that tattoo inks are not regulated for a very long time. And as they become more popular and people want different types of tattoos, especially all of these beautiful bright colors that we're seeing these days, the industry has come out with more and more ink colors, and because there isn't a really good, there isn't really good regulation on these colors, we don't know exactly what pigments are being used. Some of these bright colored pigments are actually the same ink that is used in printer ink. And so we do know that this is a problem and an area that probably deserves more regulation. Okay,
and I mentioned, I think in the report he talked about the fact, as you just said, in Canada it's not regulated. In the U.S. it's different, is it not?
I'm actually not too sure about the differences in regulation between Canada and the U.S. In Europe, it definitely seems to be more controlled. There are colors that are banned in Europe that are available here in Canada because of their carcinogenic potential.
Okay, so someone listening to this, or maybe a parent of a child getting something like this, what's the concern and what do you do? At what point do you need to become concerned, perhaps?
So the issue is really that we don't know what is being injected exactly, and it's not even your tattoo artist's fault. There's an issue with mislabeling. So a lot of these tattoo ink companies, their labels are incorrect. There was actually a study that was done that showed that up to 93% of the labels were incorrect, were missing ingredients. So you don't know exactly what is being injected. And in that, there are different concerns. So some of them, the bacterial load of the ink, even if it was sealed, is too high. So there's an infection risk from that. And then for others, there's an allergy risk. So like one ingredient that wasn't on the label when it should have been is like propylene glycol, which a lot of people are allergic to. So even if you know that you have this allergy and you ask your tattoo artist about it, they check the label, it's not in there, but it actually is because your ink is mislabeled. And then the other issue is that some of these compounds are carcinogenic, so they have the potential to cause cancer, and that also isn't necessarily on the label.
Well, there's all the good news, boys and girls, about what you could be getting when you're getting a tattoo. I guess my question is, there, as I said off the top, lots of people have tattoos. Is there a point where you should be worried, or can you do something now to say, maybe I want to check on what I already have on now? Like, what do you do?
So basically, there is a theoretical cancer risk. We don't know if it's a true risk. There are a couple of studies that came out in the last couple of years that have raised a lot of questions. So the studies that were mentioned in that report do show that maybe there is this real risk of lymphoma or skin cancer. But in one of those studies, the cohort was too small to reach what we call statistical significance. So is there really a difference between people that have tattoos or not? It almost reached statistical significance, but it did not. So we would need a larger cohort to know for sure. And in the second study, it was, again, an even smaller study where the total number of cancers for lymphoma was 7, and for skin cancers was, I think, 27. So they raise questions for sure, but they absolutely do not confirm a cancer risk. There are large studies that have been kicked off in Europe recently, but we're going to take 5 to 10 years to have the results of those.
Okay, I hope we didn't needlessly worry everybody or anybody based on these very small studies. I think when we spoke about this yesterday, I think the study also showed there was one that involved mice who were given these tattoos. I'm like, how'd they do that? But anyway, that's a whole other story. I wonder, should you maybe start to worry here? Say you've had a tattoo, if you develop any kind of rash or a skin symptom rather, is that a reason for concern?
Yeah, so basically that's what we do see most often with tattoos is these allergic skin reactions. And they can appear soon after your tattoo, but they can also appear years later because the tattoo pigment that's in your skin can break down over time into different components. And so a tattoo that you've had for a few years without issue can suddenly develop an allergic reaction. And these sometimes are small allergic reactions that we can control with just like a steroid cream, and sometimes can be more significant allergic reactions that are harder to control, and the treatment can go up towards removing the tattoo surgically.
Is that a major procedure now to do that surgically?
It's a surgical intervention, and it depends on the size of your tattoo, right? So there was one case that was reported a couple of years ago of a gentleman who reacted to his red pigment, and he had a lot of red tattoo pigment across his body, and it took him 6 surgeries with skin grafts to get rid of it all. Yeah.
Okay. So not to panic anyone, it doesn't seem like there have been enough studies. Not to say that it's not potentially a problem, but obviously pay attention. If something does come up, you want to just have it looked at. Dr. Iannattone, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.